welcome back to the channel. My name is Justin and you're on Fast Entrepreneur. As you can tell, I got a new look. And I shaved it raw. That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about airdrops upcoming this week, big for the Cosmos ecosystem. And raw is one of them. And the other, y'all know what time it is. All right, let's get into it. So, let's talk about the first one, which will be EVMOS. So if you've been following the channel, you know everything I say is never financial advice. You always got to do your own research. All right, I've been mentioning for a while now that if you're staking Cosmos, right, which is the Atom token, Juno, and perhaps Osmo and Secret, it's making people eligible for a bunch of airdrops from projects that are taking snapshots for those tokens. So if you hold those tokens that I just mentioned, you may be eligible for what is coming. And also, most of these airdrops, probably not going to be super big, but some of them can be quite substantial depending on what the project does, how big the project's potential is, and its market cap and tokenomics. So we just had the Crescent Dex airdrop, which some of you may have received. The snapshot was several months ago. But if you did receive it, it is a DEX competing. Some people don't like to say competing, but come on, they're all trying to compete for liquidity. Liquidity's got to go somewhere. But it is similar to like Osmosis, which is the main DEX in the Cosmos ecosystem. And we will, in a brief moment, be talking about Juno Swap, which is launching its governance token RAW. But these are all DEXs, decentralized exchanges. And all right, let's get into EVMOS. So EVMOS is probably going to be a big one. Its name stands for the bridge between moving not just assets, but ecosystem of dApps and whatnot between Ethereum and Cosmos. And so they actually did their launch last month, but due to various reasons they had to pause the chain. They will be rolling it back out on Tuesday, which is tomorrow. And if you're eligible, you can claim these EVMOS tokens. So they had something called the RECT drop, R-E-K-T. So they were giving a bunch of tokens to people, like if you had traded ERC20s, which are on Ethereum, and you had paid a lot in gas fees, you may be eligible. And there are also folks in the Cosmos ecosystem, stakers, that would also be eligible. So you can go, you can check that out, you can claim. Again, always do your own research, but looks like a very promising project. And so Tuesday, they will relaunch. I think that's when you can probably start to reclaim. Actually, I'm not sure what they're exactly doing on Tuesday. I think you might have to wait until Thursday for a bunch of the airdrop stuff to go on. It's a phased rollout over several days. But that will be coming this week, so definitely you can check that out. And also, to note with EVMOS, so EVMOS could be a pretty large airdrop, depending on, a lot of these airdrops, it's basically how much you stake. So if you stake, if you have a lot of Atom that you stake, then you may get a lot of these tokens airdropped to you. But what else? EVMOS itself, because of the nature of its chain, has already going to have several projects launching on EVMOS. Dates to be determined, but probably pretty soon. And some of these have already announced that they'll be doing airdrops to folks that stake their EVMOS. So if you get an EVMOS airdrop and then you decide you want to stake it, you may be eligible for future airdrops of other projects. And there may be, these other projects may not just be airdropping just to EVMOS stakers. There may be Atom, or Juno or others, but you'll have to check out each individual project. But usually the the tune usually goes, new chain launches. If it's a chain like EVMOS, then start to look down the ecosystem, like what are the DEXs, what are the major dApps, DeFi platforms, blah 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 blah, and you can go from there. All right, so that's EVMOS. Let's talk about RAW. This is probably going to be another big one, and here's probably why. See, RAW will be the governance token of Juno Swap, okay? And if you're familiar with, say, Uniswap, for Ethereum, it's basically going to be the same thing here. The Uni token was airdropped to folks that had used Uniswap, and the RAW token will be airdropped to folks that have, provided liquidity early on here for various pairs. You could check out, the details probably, more on their site or on their Medium or whatnot. But now you look at the tokenomics. When I say tokenomics, I'm saying, you want to see, okay, how many tokens total are there ever going to be? How many of them are going to be dropped, in an airdrop? How many are reserved for other, for the team and other things, marketing, blah, blah, blah. And then you also want to look at the, what is the token used for? And in this case, the token, for RAW, it'll be used for various things like voting and governance. It'll be, providing, if you do provide liquidity, you'll have incentives, which will be rewarded in future RAW, and staking rewards, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, but you also want to be familiar as, a little bit familiar as how much, if all these tokens don't just come out at once, how do they roll out? What is that kind of inflation rate, if you will, right? The rate at which new tokens are going to be added into the system until there are no more being added, etc. And that'll give you kind of an idea of, maybe try to get an idea of, okay, well, if I think that this project, let's say, might have a, market cap around, yada, 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 then, what might be the prices, during launch, what usually happens to projects at launch. And we usually see projects like this, there's usually a lot of hype around projects when they launch, because people that didn't get the drop, or people that were waiting, or people that, are just hearing about this stuff now, may want to buy these tokens, may want to stake these tokens because of, so this, that there could be that. Whether or not we're going to see dips after launch, a lot of projects do, but not all do. And, I think that just depends on, what the project is at the time. But that's that. So what I found interesting is the RAW drop. You could go see, they actually took a couple of snapshots for Juno holders, right? Because Juno swap. One was, several months back, but they just took one recently in mid-April, April 15th. Don't they call that the Ides? Maybe that's only for March. I'm calling it the Ides of April. But if you had some Juno and you were staking, I think you had to stake the Juno on those Ides of April, you would be qualified, and you may be getting a RAW airdrop. So you may want to check that out. You can check out the details of how much you had to, yada, yada, yada. But they also, for LP, so LP, liquidity pool providers, if you were providing some liquidity on Juno Swap, they were taking a bunch of snapshots. And now why would they do that? Well, they were probably, we don't know, but I guess it's a formula, you can look it up. But it may not just be based on how much you provide, but also when did you provide, how long did you provide, because there were no quote-unquote incentives being paid. Now, whether or not there will be in the future retroactive, I'm not sure of that, but there were no incentives, so why would people be providing liquidity, etc.? And so this may be a way of rewarding early users, which, hint, hint, if you think about future DEXs, like in major ecosystems that don't have tokens, then it may use similar strategy. Maybe you want to think about, adding a little bit of liquidity. But again, nothing is financial research. Always do your own research. Again, this is going to be a pretty interesting week for the Cosmos ecosystem and airdrops. We've been talking about it. We'll probably keep talking about it. But this week, it's going to be something to look for. So we've got EVMOS and we've got RAW. We've got others, but those are the two big ones. See you later. Peace.